Citizens of the free world, I am Hoverman Cop, defender of justice, defender of the people, defender of the earth. Deadly results of masked teens. 3 teenagers who were students at Salem High School of Rockdale County School District in Conyers, Georgia, had no major responsibilities to be concerned about other than to wake up Monday through Friday, go to school with the goal to learn, graduate, and pursue greater things in life with a bright future ahead of them. Decided to engage in a dangerous criminal act that will always end up with deadly, dangerous results in the real world. They decided to have 3 masks and a loaded gun. Took these 4 items and arrived on the property of someone's home around 4 o'clock in the morning with their face covered with these masks and that gun, in an attempt to commit a home burglary. Witnesses stated that gunfire erupted, and from what was said, the handgun from one of the teenagers was heard in the gunfire first, followed by the weapon of the homeowner. And when the gunfire ended, 3 of those teenagers lost their lives. Listen to what one of the witnesses observed and heard that morning.
I was watching television and I heard some light shooting, and then I heard loud shooting that followed the light shooting. I began to hit the floor because it occurred, it sounded as if it was right outside my house, but it was a few yards further back. I ran to this side of my house to make sure that my wife was okay. Upon finding out that she was fine, I heard a guy yelling for help. Help me, I'm dying, help me. I looked out my window and he was laying right here on my lawn. That's his shoe, right over there. I did not come outside. I immediately called 911. When the police officers arrived, the Rockdale Sheriff, they came in a minute. I applaud the Rockdale County Sheriffs. They came here, and the deputies, they came here in a minute. When they came, I came out. I took pictures of the gentleman. I have them in my phone. I took pictures of the gentleman, and he said, I'm dying. I said, just hold on. Stop moving around. Just hang in there. Just hang in there. And I said to the deputy, I said, where's the ambulance? But so the ambulance was nowhere to be found. I'm a little bothered by that because I think the ambulance should have been here faster. When I called 911, I said that there was a shooting, and there was a person laying on my lawn. That right there should have dispatched the ambulances to immediately arrive. So I'm a little bothered by that. However, I don't know how that's structured, and so I don't want to spend much time in that area. But this neighborhood, I've lived here for over 15 years. This is a great neighborhood. Right? This is Pine Forest. This is a great neighborhood here in Rockdale County. This shooting is not, unfortunately, 3 young men lost their lives. 3 young men lost their lives right here in my neighborhood. Now, I'm bothered by that. I'm hurt by that. Now, some might say, well, they had no business doing what they did. You're right. But they were still 3 young men. They still had a mother. They still had a father, a sister. And so, yes, I'm still bothered by that. And what that tells me is that, what are we doing as a county? What are we not doing as a county when it comes to investing in these young men. If we can introduce a $140 million referendum to expand the courthouse, but yet we can't find any money to create prevention programs for these young kids, that's what's happening. And if we don't do that, what we've seen today is a microcosm of what's going to happen later on in Rockdale County, and I'm afraid of that.
What do you think these three young men were doing in your neighborhood?
Well, from what I gather, because I know my neighbor, and he's a good fella. He's a real good fella. We've done a lot of things together. I know he's very protective of his mother. So he may have felt that there was a level of suspicion in which these young people were trying to break in his house. He lives with his mother. He's a truck driver. Guy makes an honest living. He's seldom here. Sometimes once a month or just on weekends or what have you. But he'll always stop by and blow the horn and let me know that he's in town. And so perhaps he's seen at 4 o'clock in the morning a bunch of guys hanging around his house. Now, of course, anyone will look at that as being suspicious. And not only that, this guy had a mask on. So I later found out that the other ones had a mask on as well. So in my view, their intent was to harm someone, either robbing them or even killing them. All right. So I don't know. I'm being presumptuous. So, but I will tell you that when I heard the loud sound, I knew that was an AR. I knew it was because I've heard the gun sound before, and I then associated that with him because I knew that there was a gun like that around his premises to protect his mother, and so I later found out that yes, when I seen the officer walk by holding the gun in his hand, I was absolutely correct that it was an AR.
It was the homeowner's AR.
Yes.
Yes,
From what I gather.
That for
Yes.
protection. So the first
yes.
round of gunshots you heard were maybe from the young man.
Yes.
And then the second
I
round,
don't know where they came from, but they were. It sounded like they were smaller, pat, and then I heard doom, 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 like that. All right. And so I then knew that there was a major shootout going on in the neighborhood, and of course, my thinking was to go make sure that my wife is okay.
What was going through your mind when you saw this man laid out on your
I was extremely bothered by that. There's a young man laying on my lawn with a bullet in his chest. I was bothered by that. My father was murdered when I was 12 years old. And I lost a young fella in my Youth Diversion program in Connecticut who was shot 3 times in the back when I was giving him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. And he died in my arms around the same age as this young kid. And so I was bothered by that. There's a young kid laying dead on my lawn. And so for anyone to imagine seeing someone who was just shot laying on your lawn, that's what bothered me, and I'm torn up behind that. But I know that we must address this here in Rockdale County, and if we don't address this in Rockdale County will certainly die as a county, and I'm going to fight hard to make sure that doesn't happen.
But based on everything you've heard, it sounds like this homeowner was justified in protecting his property.
Again, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I would think so. And knowing him the way I know him, he loves his mother, and he will do anything and everything to protect his mother. And when we have young people, 4 o'clock in the morning, they're certainly not going to try and go into someone's house and make a sandwich at 4 o'clock in the morning. And so their intent was to do some harm, from what I gather. And so, you know, look, if the man had to defend himself, that's what he had to do. And I'm sorry for the family of those young men who lost their lives. But you know, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And we must try and prevent the younger generation of these young kids to not emulate that same behavior.
What age did the child that you saw? Was he a child?
He looked like he was about 15, about 15 or 16 years old.
So they were not men. They were.
No, he looked like he was about 15.
And describe the mask that you saw.
It was a black mask, kind of made with a little rubber. I didn't really spend too much time looking at it, but he had it below his neck, and he was just wailing. His arm was he had his left hand on the bullet wound, and his other arm. He said, "Help me! I'm dying." And then all of a sudden things started calming down. He was losing a lot of blood, and I said, "Look, just hold still. The ambulances are on their way." And so I just later found out that the guy died, and I felt real bad. I really felt bad about that. But I applaud the sheriff's deputies because one of the deputies was assisting him, helping this young man, and I applaud him for that. I really do.
There you have it. From one of the witnesses in that neighborhood, a homeowner who knows the victim that had to use deadly force against these three teenagers who wore those masks and had a gun. There are a few questions that came to mind. They're tough questions that every individual who has a son or daughter must understand and make sure that these questions will never impact your family's life. I would like to know, what was these teenagers' environment at home? What did these teenagers allow in their lives to influence them to commit this level of criminal activity? Did these teenagers at any point in their lives know God or even believed in God? Let me deal with the first question. There are many homes that are broken. The mother is present, but the fathers of these children are not. And sometimes the father is present and the mothers are not. Sometimes now, two parents of the same sex. We have division in homes. We have sometimes mothers and fathers in the same home, but they're separated and divided. Children are doing whatever they want to do, and parents are giving up not only on their children, but on their own marriage. This is a harsh reality. Drugs is in the home in many places. Alcohol is present, and many various other issues exists in so many homes that children are being raised up under. And all of these issues impacts children in many ways that can result and alter their position, their progress in life. Please understand that children across the world, it is imperative that they be raised correctly, taught, nurtured, and guided in a way that they can grow up and become productive citizens in society. That is their right. It is their God-given right. And if that is not given, you can expect influences to invade their ears, from their ears to the mind, and from the mind to the heart. And when it is in the heart, it is carried out in various ways that would cause issues, problems, and difficulties for that child and for individuals who are the receiving end of that child's dysfunctioned behavior. And so many various art forms, music, television, the radio, movies, peer pressure, all of these are influences that can draw a child, teenagers, adults to commit acts, carry out these acts that can lead in the results that we are now witnessing with the life of these 3 teenagers who are no longer here. If I may, I share with you kingdom insight from the scriptures within Jeremiah chapter 17 verse 9 and verse 10. It says, "The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, the Lord, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways, and according to the fruit of his doings." These 3 teenagers was not only influenced by various things, but the main accuser is always the devil. These teenagers was not only influenced by various things that gave them the mind to even carry out this act, will always lead to the main accuser between good and evil, right and wrong, and that is the devil. And it is not God's desire that for these teenagers to perish in this manner. It is the power of free will, and evil has no age limit. Crime has no age limit. And when we all die, there is no age limit to death. But in the time that we do have in this life, it is up to us to carry out life in a way that changes our way of living, that will be beneficial to mankind, not to be destructive and alter who we are and what we were created to be to benefit society. These 3 teenagers wore masks, and I tell you, the devil himself comes in various forms of masks that can present itself and appear to each and every one of us. A mask of sexual perversions, a mask that represents different drugs, alcohol that alters the mental and physical state, so much so that drugs and alcohol has caused the death of so many who have taken these forms of alcohol and various drugs, and if their lives were not taken, innocent victims' lives were taken based on these various forms of masks. And my question is, what mask do you all want to wear? Does the mask you wear a mask that will bring the results you need, that would cause life for you and your family and future to be productive and fruitful? Or are the mask you wearing is self-destructive to your life and those around you? And if each and every one of you who are teenagers who may hear this, I hope that whatever you are doing in your personal life that is self-destructive, that you will throw it away, and that you will allow the power of the Almighty God to consume your mind and your spirit and your life, that you will no longer want to do the things that is wrong, but to do all things that is right. For there is no greater peace or joy that you can have in knowing that when you take your last breath is to know that you are a child of God. And when that teenager laid with the gunshot in his body, with the words that came out of his mouth, help me, I am dying, it's not the words you want to have in your last moments of life. So while you are able to wake up in the morning and go to school to get your education, pursue it as if it was your last chance. To those of you who are in college, who are working, who have families, who has various things going on in life, no matter who you are, what age you are, do everything that you do that will be a benefit not only to yourself, but to mankind. Pursue all endeavors. Find your gift and pursue it. And anything that is contrary to it, take it off. Take the mask of hate, the mask of anger, the mask of unforgiveness, the mask of bitterness, the mask of self-identity crisis. Throw it away and become what you were created to be. That your life would not be remembered in a manner that is not what you were born to be. Over out.